Welcome again, have another seat. If you recall in episode 1, I mentioned the Konami vs. UDE case, where UDE decided to print their own cards. I didn't go very far into details, but today I'm going to change that. Let's read some actual court records in the form of undisputed facts from the case and examine what exactly happened. Other tubers have covered some of this, but there's more to get into for today's video and you'll soon understand why. I'm super excited to make this video. I planned the editing and waited for weeks right after episode 2. We know most of the story already, but let's recap it together. UDE is Upper Deck Entertainment, a sports cards company that Konami partnered with in 2002 to help distribute Yu-Gi-Oh! In its infancy. For a while, things were very good and profitable, with lots of backs being thoroughly scratched. About 6 years into this partnership, in October of 2008, Konami filed a complaint in the United States District of California accusing a company called Vintage Sports Cards with selling counterfeit cards. This is where the chaos began. Vintage eventually squealed to Konami and gave up the goods. They told Konami who was behind printing these counterfeits, and the name shocked them. It was their business buddy of several years, Upper Deck Entertainment. While the paper and ink weren't authentic, the security foil in the Eye of Anubis was. Upper Deck purchased this security foil on July 18th of 2007 from API Foils Inc., specifically to use in counterfeit product. The information from Vintage smelled fishy, and Konami hired a private investigator to seize 20 boxes of these counterfeits from Vintage's warehouse on October 24th. The deal was Upper Deck had hired a facilitator named Inner Workings, and the silver security foil sheets used on the cards was sent to a print facility in China called Goldhawk Package and Production. It was there the evil deeds were carried out, and Konami was livid. They asked for records of this from Upper Deck on October 30th, but Upper Deck wasn't having any of that. They outright refused, and filed a lawsuit in the District of Nevada, accusing Konami of fraud, slander, and breach of their own business agreements on December 10th of 2008. Upper Deck was fighting back. Konami then announced the following day that they were regaining full control of the game from Upper Deck by telling them to immediately cease the use of Konami's intellectual property. Now Konami was fighting back. 5 days later, a new lawsuit in Amsterdam court was filed, where a hearing was scheduled in the Netherlands between Konami and Upper Deck 6 days from then. 4 days before this could happen, however, a Dutch court ruled in favor of Upper Deck. This meant Upper Deck regained rights to the game in Europe and Latin America. Konami was livid again, but that seemed to be the end of it. For a time, the dust had settled. Both parties appeared to have gone their separate ways. It wasn't until January of 2009 that Upper Deck began wondering where their champion packs were. The truth was Konami hadn't sent them. Upper Deck wanted them soon to distribute to venues and stores, but they weren't available. Now Upper Deck was livid. Konami had to remind Upper Deck that they penned the termination of their partnership way back on December 11th. With no champion packs and an illusion of continued partnership, Upper Deck got angry. The best idea they came up with after feeling the emotional effects of the termination was to stir the pot with an event called Upper Deck Day. Yes, that's what they actually called it. On February 7th and 8th, Upper Deck held a North American event on the same day as what was intended to be the sneak peek event for Crimson Crisis. Top prizes were boxes of product, prize cards, tons of shirts, and I don't have a precise source on this, but apparently a drawing for $250,000 cash. Don't quote me on that one, that's from the wiki. Naturally, Konami was livid again, but they stepped back a little and just moved the Crimson Crisis event and set release back a month instead of trying to pull teeth with them. Read that last sentence to know how much Upper Deck was rubbing it in. Despite this, Konami was still fighting, and they had one big play left in them. They were finally able to reverse the California District ruling on February 26th and flung a turd the size and density of a preliminary injunction against Upper Deck. This hit Upper Deck right in the gut. They could no longer continue to use Konami's copyrighted works or hold itself as a distributor or rights holder to the game. The final blow was dealt in one last Kamehameha wave, freeing Yu-Gi-Oh! From Upper Deck's control at last. From April onward, Konami regained control of the game, where it stood in its form then as it does today. Upper Deck tried their hardest to sneak out of it, going so far as to tell each other in phone calls, "Remember, you do not know where you got the cards from, okay?" Even after their life points beeped at 0, Upper Deck continued to try playing a little dirty and redirected their Yu-Gi-Oh! Website to Huntic, a competitor at the time. Who remembers Huntic? What a terrible day to have eyes and ears. Anyway, all the chaos and drama was finally over. Or was it?
What about the cards?
The cards Upper Deck made still existed, and many players were not immediately aware of the giant court saga that had happened behind closed doors until the news was trending about it. People were trading and playing these cards, and Konami needed that to change. As soon as they could, Konami began production on replacement cards for customers who bought the product that contained these counterfeit cards. A redemption program was also put into place. It was similar to the one for Dark Paladin's misprint a few years prior. The idea was simple. Customers gave Konami the counterfeits to destroy, and Konami sent them real, authentic prints for free to replace them.
Was that a JoJo's reference?
However, there was a problem. The cards were all printed as standard rares with silver lettering, while the counterfeits were usually holofoil. It's thought by some at the time that customers wouldn't want to downgrade the rarity to participate in the program. As a result, this may be why the redemption program was not advertised like Dark Paladin's program was. It's believed the program existed very briefly, as it was only mentioned to customers who called customer support to ask about the counterfeits and what they should do with them. So imagine calling and asking about your ultimate rare Aquinios and Konami offering you to trade a rare for it. It's possible this is what killed the program before it even saw widespread use. Years had passed, and the legal battle with the related counterfeits started to slip out of people's heads. The fans that did remember and had read about it continued to retell the tales of where we were when it happened. For many years later, that was the end of the saga. That is, until October of 2020. A number of flame wingmen were discovered in a collection in California. Their set IDs were TLM EN035K. It baffled the online community for at least a few days. I was among the baffled, but I knew I had to act fast. I acquired one of the Flame Wingmen myself and I examined it with a loupe. The card seemed to check out. I believed it was authentic, but I still had to be cautious. I posted my findings to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Misprint Collectors group on the 13th to share the discovery, and that is when we finally knew what we had found. It was one of the long-lost redemption cards from the battle between Konami and Upper Deck. Until that day, the existence of the program was not widely known, and some even believed it never happened. We not only proved it was real, but the cards still existed. This was a very exciting day as more and more surfaced. All were rare prints with their original set IDs and with a K added to the end. That K felt symbolic, like Konami declaring who they were on each card. It was awesome. Over time, a lot of us in the collecting community began to hunt what I had been calling the K series, and that was the end of that chapter.
What about the spell cards?
Yes, right. A few were collected of the 7 different cards, but we were still missing 2 of them. In the initial discovery, we asked where the spell cards were because we hadn't seen those yet. Sadly, Flute of Summoning Karibo and Mistbody were never found. People were saddened to figure that they either remained undiscovered or could be long lost. Us collectors gathered what we could find and cherished them, even if our sets felt incomplete. Still, it left us longing, and left me personally wondering what truly could have been. Until I got a message. On June 14th of 2021, I received a message from a fan of the series you're watching right now. What he told me raised my left eyebrow up and over the back of my head. He told me the Flute and Mistbody both existed, and he showed me proof. Over some long conversations and a little extra planning, I was able to get my hands on one of both of them. The wait for the mail was excruciating. But then, it happened. I had done it. I had assembled the newest complete Konami 9-card redemption program set in who knows how many years. My hands shook. My jaw had disconnected. I was holding history. History that I had to share. Of course, the very first complete set was probably assembled by my anonymous benefactor. He sent a photo of all 9 together to show the spells in the first place. Still, I was amazed. I held the echoes of a fierce legal battle that decided the fate of my favorite card game, and I felt unworthy. My benefactor asked that I withhold his identity in the making of this video, and I will honor that. You know who you are. Thank you so much for this. This examination of these documents is not meant to be a complete reading by any means. I encourage you to dig into the documents yourself through the link in the description if you would like. It's all released and it's all free to read. More big thank yous to the homies you see on your screen, and a special thank you to my benefactor and to Mr. Highrise who provided his voice. Both are cherished friends. I'm just beginning to show you the juicy stuff. I have big plans for the next episode. Very shiny plans. Very, very rare plans. Until then...